Two, one. Welcome to another episode of the Journey Vlog podcast where we drink coffee, not talk about it. And on today's live transmission on this beautiful Saturday morning, is it Saturday? No, it's Friday. Saturday morning, Friday morning, 9:30 a.m. Kuala Lumpur. I'm here with my two cats. They're in a struggle right now. And today, as promised, it is the episode where I talk about why it is your duty, your responsibility to make content for the internet. Now, let's get this clear. Let's get this out while it's fresh. The internet, we all know what it is. We all use it day to day. You use it for entertainment, for education, for your career, for your business, everything. It is the virtual world that we communicate with by Wi-Fi. Isn't that crazy? Think about this for a second. You have a computer, I have a computer, and I'm communicating visual input for you through invisible waves. That means that these waves, electromagnetic waves, are being sent from this computer to yours with visual input. You can't see the information being sent, but your computer is a receiver for that information for you to see it. Without your computer, you can't see the information, but there's information everywhere, all around you, flying around. You can't even see it. But our computers are like our brains, they let us see a certain type of frequency. Now, okay, that's the internet. We have devices, your mobile phones, right? The internet is a free for all, and it lets you communicate to any person in the world for free. Okay, so you have global access to any person in the world at the palm of your hand. Now let's retrace back a little bit. 10 years ago, there was no smartphone. Okay, number one, 10 years ago, there was no smartphone. There was no smartphone 10 years ago. Sink that in. That means I was a teenager still when it first came out. Second point, the internet was first made by the government to actually spy on people. So by creating the internet, the government wanted to spy on everybody. So every time a new technology rolls out, the government or the military has already had it for a few years before they even give it out to the public. Just like phones were the same situation. Now, I'm not going to dive into that. What happened after they released it is that it worked against itself. So instead of being able to spy on people or use propaganda and whatnot, like television, radio, media, all that old gatekeeper models, the internet came in like to gather information, but at the same time, the way people used it was almost like a tool of liberty. It helped anybody become a producer. Now let's retrace back even further. Before even internet came back, all you had was radio, television, and what was the other one? Printing press, newspapers. All these media forms of communication were how people got ideas out. Meaning, without newspaper, without television and radio, all people had were books, and books were controlled by the institutions. So the only form of media or passing on information was through printed books. Before you even had printing press, you had to hand copy books manually in order to get information out. And one of the first few books that were being made were typically books on religion and science. Now, universities or a campus actually came from the manual production of books. Once printing books started becoming a thing and spreading information, they were all hosted in campuses, and campuses were like the citadel, or I don't know if citadel is the right word. It's the place where they archived all the books. That's what a campus was called. A university was a central place for hosting information. The thing is that once the printing got invented, people started printing out more and more copies of the Bible, because at the time the religion was the governing institution. They controlled everything. So they started pushing out their religion more faster, more broadly, by printing out lots and lots of books. Eventually they started doing that with other kinds of information. So that's where the term campus came from for a university. It started off as the place where they produced and printed the information. And so, as you can see, it was very limited way of communicating, and it was very controlled, because it's only through books and passing on to one another that information was being able to spread, until the printing technology came out where you can print multiple books a day. Then that's when things really started to skyrocket, because now information spread far and fast and wide, versus having the manual that took years to create one Bible or whatever. After the newspaper came out, uh, this led to even further expansion, or the term mass audience, and that's when modern, considered the first modern communication technology came out, which changed the way humans communicated in modern society forever. Since the printing press, everything has changed because of the way we are able to communicate ideas. Institutions grew from just the university and campuses, and became now leading authorities in spreading information. Now, that later became into schools, but we're not going to go into that. What happened with the printing press is now government started getting involved. Now the media was controlling the narrative of modern society. But here's the thing, they had giant gatekeeper models. Why did they have, when by gatekeeper models I mean is that, if not anybody can get on the radio and say something, not everybody can get their story printed out on the newspaper. There was always a form of authority that blocked what can be published. And the reason that existed was because the technology that was made to improve these communications, the technology for the printing press, for the radio, were was technologies that were funded by the institutions and governments, meaning they were provided to them by those institutions. So that's why there was a gatekeeper model, because there was no access to the technology, and the ones that held the technology held who can produce what. Now internet came out, changed everything. Now anybody can communicate with anybody, and that was meant to destroy the printing press and the television networks and the radio networks, because there was no more gatekeeper model, right? Amazing. But why is the smartphone so important? Is because this thing came in and changed things even further. Now, if you're like me, you didn't have this problem, but now you can realize it, is that a long time ago, like before the smartphone, not phone, before the smartphone, which came out, I think 2007, 2008, I'm not too sure. Before that came out, even if you had a computer and internet connection, you could not leave your house or leave your office and still be on the internet. Meaning, the smartphone was the first time ever that you could leave the house or office with the internet at your pocket. This was life changing. To be able to have mobile communication on you all the time, to be connected all the time, was revolutionary. You could not do this. This was a huge, huge, huge deal. But to us, we were just like, oh yeah, the phone, right? No, okay. It's the internet. And now the reason people struggle to understand this is because they still view the internet as just Google and social media networks and finding information, versus realizing that it's actually a virtual reality. It's a portal into our virtual interconnected landscapes of anybody producing information. It's like a hive mind virtual landscape of information that anybody can add in, extract, edit, review. It's a virtual world, and your devices, your phone, your computer, are just portals into that world, which means that you can connect with anybody on the internet. It is a virtual life, not a place where you just go consume videos, read articles, and then check out. It's an entire landscape, meaning like the only difference between me meeting you on the street and doing business with you is that on the computer is just virtual. That's it. We don't have to meet each other. That's the only difference. And if you can look at the internet as a giant marketplace where anything is possible, then your reality starts to expand very quickly. So if, for example, when I say I can talk to anybody in the world and this has given you global access, like just look at Instagram. There are over 2 billion Instagram users. You can get on your Instagram account, find, if you can find the account of the person you're looking for, you can send them a message. That means you have access to 2 billion people in your phone at your fingertips right now. And that's what I'm talking about, how it's a portal. It's a portal to talk to anybody. Now think about that. You no longer have to go knock on doors. You don't have to go and get interviews and set up meetings. And if you want to talk to Gary Vaynerchuk, you have to go through, all his, you can just send him a message. Now if they respond to it, or that's a whole different story. But the fact is you have access to them right now. And the fact that this exists and that we're not capitalizing on it is a huge, huge, uh, it's taking it for granted. Now, why is it your duty to produce content? Because here's the thing: the internet, it's provided every single person who has a mobile device the ability to create, produce, consume, and basically be their individual producer for information. It's literally kind of power to the people, but it's not perfect. There's a lot of big problems with it. But initially, that's what it's offering you. It's taking away the gatekeeper model and giving it to you. You can choose who you want to listen to. You can choose what you want to make. You can make your own news. So why is it your duty though? Because here's the thing: what drives business? What drives movements? What drives economic growth? Everything. What drives these things? It's communication. You can't do things by yourself. Communication and sharing of information is what moves the world together. Every time a new communication technology was introduced, modern society changed how they live. Now, again, take a deep breath. Mobile phones. Now that the gatekeeper model is gone, why do you need to produce? Here's the thing. Again, the whole point is communication. Communication drives your business. Now, let's say you're not running a business. This was meant to give you your freedom. So here's the crazy part: is that everyone who's producing, who's thinking that the way to live off the internet is okay. My point is, what I'm trying to make is that this wasn't made for the big brands. This wasn't made for Coca-Cola and Pepsi or Toyota or all these top 100 Fortune brands. They have money to go to the printing press. They have money to print ads. They have to televise their networks. These huge corporations, it doesn't matter whether the internet exists or not. They have money to spend to get their attention that they need. Now, for you, the little guy, this was who was made for. You're the one who can capitalize on this. It's who it was made for. It's for the small enterprises. It's for the individual, the freelancer, the guy at home who just has a hobby. Because when you can live off your hobby through the internet, when you can find a million people just like you who share the exact same passion for fidget spinners or coffee and make a living out of that, that's insane. That's insane. You can make your own business and produce your own nation, tribe, following based on exactly the way you want to do it. So it is your duty to start producing stuff because you're missing out on the greatest opportunity that ever existed. More importantly, again, it was made for you. These big corporations, they can afford to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on gatekeeper models, but you can't. But you don't need to anymore because you can just produce organically, find the right message, broadcast it to anybody in the world. That's what it is. It's a messaging device. It's a messaging platform where you can send out that's what advertising is. It's a message with a megaphone. You spend money to get it in front of more and more people. So imagine you could just do that through your phone. Another thing is that who's capitalizing on social media right now or the internet? It's big brands. Again, they're the ones dominating the space. And you're literally, for the first time ever, you're not at the end of the spectrum. You don't have to supplicate to what brands give you. Don't like what they're giving you, you can make something else. And now it's possible, and it's super, super practical to do it. And we're not doing anything about it. And the problem with that is that right now, if you know about big data, if you know about algorithms and how data mining works and what happens with AI synthesis and all these things, our entire database is being built by big corporations, advertisers, addiction models, and lying and spying. All these things are what are currently dominating the internet world because it's being used as a weapon by the wrong people. Now, why do I say you need to join in? Because it's people like us that are going to be able to stop this or to make it into a better thing. If we're constantly handing over our sovereignty to corporations and big tech companies by literally just being consumers and not producing, we're never gonna get it. This thing will like evolve into something very scary, very nasty, built on rationalism, addiction, gambling, spying, and advertising. Do you really want to live in a virtual world that's dominated by these five things? That's a dangerous, dangerous thing. And once you, where do you think AI is going to come from? AI is going to come from the data we're inputting in it. Mind you, without humans, AI cannot exist. Without us feeding data, AI cannot exist. It needs human uh, data input in order for it to even be artificially intelligent. But if the information we're only feeding it is all this, crap about like how to just use people like batteries, what kind of AI do you think is going to come into this world? A very nasty one. We need to change what's being input into these systems. We got to upload more positivity. We got to upload more humanness into the system so that it's built on everything that's human and not just the exploitation of humans, because right now it's being used as a weapon against you. It already is being used as a weapon. Social media is being used as a weapon on you right now. And the only way to change it is to fix it from the inside, is to, for people like us, start producing stuff that's, authentic, that's real, that's not built on exploitation. And more importantly, when you can live a life of your own culture, like forget the whole AI thing. If you have the ability to live a life of stuff that you're passionate about, why aren't you doing that? This is the biggest opportunity you've ever had, and you're letting it slip past your fingers. You look, not I don't believe everybody has to start a business. I don't believe that at all. What I do think is that if you're not starting your own business, you're really missing out. You're missing out on an opportunity to create your own culture. Okay, to it's your own culture. Why would you not want that for yourself? Wouldn't you want to, I mean, isn't that ultimately what we're all working for, is to end up doing what we want? Well, you can do that right now. You can work your job and still produce on the side, and at some point in a few years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, you'll be living off the content that you make. How you do that? Well, you got to learn marketing and other things, but the fact that you're not producing is the biggest waste ever. I can't stress that enough. This really is for the individual. This is not for the corporation. This was made for the individual, which is why it was put in your hands. And I hope this is getting through to you, because I don't, let me see if I can give you an example. I'm trying to find the most lucrative example of a niche that's just like, I mean, I heard this story. Okay, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically a story about this guy who liked mating with horses. I know it sounds messed up. You can look it up. He liked mating with horses, so he went on a forum, or he started a forum or a group or something like that, and he found thousands of other men like him who like mating with horses, and they started a group community together, and they met up, and everybody had a horse mating party, and the guy got fucked in the butt by a horse so hard that he died, and he went to the hospital bleeding, and he died. It's pretty messed up story, and you know it's pretty messed up. But my point is, if a guy like that can find his own tribe and create his own look. Like, it's a culture about mating with horses, and he managed to do it by just going online. That's my point. It's meant for you to whatever how weird you are. And if you're not using this, then it's the biggest waste ever. You can live your own life. It doesn't have to be tonight. You don't have to become famous. You really don't. Just a few thousand people, and just to pay your bills through this content is insane. And to just be able to contribute to the bigger portion of this reality is your duty, because it's up to people like us. We're the only people who are going to do something about it. Without us, we might as well just plug our brains to the singularity and we're all dead. So you think about the future you want to create, because now it's literally in your hands. If you don't upload, we're giving away our sovereignty to big tech companies, to people who just view us as products. Okay, they see you as a bag of meat. They said it themselves. I look at myself in the reflection, and all I see is a bag of meat that I want to transcend. Think about that. This is Goober. Sorry if I fried your brain. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you see the possibilities of this global portal. This is me giving you the live transmission, just like through this portal. And I don't know where you are, Mr. Listener or Mrs. Listener, but thank you for tuning in. I'm going to catch you on the next one, and I'm going to cover more technology insights and communication on the next episode. This is a Give Go. Been checking out. Oh, what do you go? What do you know?